Hello, I am here with you today to help you learn a little bit more about what's in it for you, the association, the CEO, the board of directors, the staff, to figure out a simple rationale for why they, your members, should rely on you. What to look to you for today and every day, for every step in their career, for their tenure as a member and leader, and ultimately a stakeholder in your association. This brief overview is going to help convey how a relevant, compelling value proposition can change everything for your leaders, for your staff, and for your brand. Bain & Company is a global management consulting firm, and they went out and asked 362 of their business-to-business companies, do you believe you deliver superior value? And when asked, in fact, 80% of those CEOs raised their hand and said, I believe that we deliver superior value. And then, like any overachieving management consulting firm, Bain & Company went to the customers of those CEOs and asked, do they deliver superior value? And in fact, only 8% agreed to that statement. That's pretty sobering, isn't it? The gap is called the delivery gap. And if you don't nail it, you are in trouble. That's why we're here today. Companies around the globe devote extraordinary time and resources and manpower to developing and fine-tuning the product chain, the delivery chain, the marketing chain. That includes the sales and distribution and customer service, and in your case, the advocacy and the education and the member services, but fail to assess the most fundamental of business success factors. And that's their value proposition. And why is that? I heard a quote a long time ago by a person called Anais Nin, and she said, most times we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And I would say that for you all who are listening in here. You know more, you care more, you understand more than 90% of your members. So you view your association differently. You view your services differently than the uninvolved, the uninformed, or the indifferent members inside your organization. I'm going to suggest that everyone on this call and everyone in a leadership position, including your staff, are in sales. And if I were to give you the definition, it might really resonate with you. Sales is the process of establishing credibility and rapport in order to further a relationship. Think about it in your own business, as a parent, with anything you're trying to move forward, get somebody to do something. It's the process of establishing credibility, meaning trust, and rapport, that two-way connection that furthers a relationship. So I hope you would agree with me that every one of us is in sales. So let's talk about a couple of the sales components that are important to a prerequisite for learning about a value proposition. First of all, a brand. A brand creates the relationship between you and your customer. It's what you promise that they will get from this relationship. It's very internal. You get to decide your brand. It guides your decision making, it guides your communications, but it's very internal. So when you see this logo, which is the brand identity, it's the graphic depiction of that promise. You're seeing the logo, and the logo represents their promise. Apple's promise is 3 simple words. It's actually their promise and their commitment to their customer. And those 3 words are innovation, reliability, and simplicity. And since 1976, Apple has delivered on that value proposition with every decision from the boardroom to the product development table to the warehouse before it gets shipped. Is it innovative? Is it reliable? Is it simple? That's the promise that Apple makes to their customer with the hope that that's enough to build a relationship and create loyalty with the brand. Okay, now let's look at Apple's mission statement. So their mission statement is their purpose for being in business. Apple designs the best personal computers in the world and the operating systems and professional software to support it. They lead the digital music revolution. They define the future of mobile media and computing devices. This is Apple's mission. It's long, but it is clear about their purpose in the market. Their brand, what we just saw, is 3 words: innovation, reliability, and consistency. And the value proposition is the benefits, the emotional benefits that brand delivers. It's how it makes a customer feel. It's how it helps them be more productive or hip or more successful or whatever it might be. You might substitute your association for this. How do you make that person feel so that it strengthens that connection to the brand? So the iPod graphic of the person dancing, you might remember this. This is the visual depiction of Apple's value proposition. The actual value proposition, as you see in this image, what does it make you feel? How does it make you feel? Well, the rationale, what Apple wants people to feel, the emotional rationale is, I want to feel hip and artistic and individual. And oh, by the way, it'd be nice to feel a little younger. So this is really important. While you see a graphic with young people, carefree people, pretty people, even though it's black and white, the whole idea of choosing a target audience is that if you can really instill that feeling with 1 or 2 or 3 groups of people, you'll reach a lot of people around the perimeter, the periphery of those few target groups. So we're going to talk about that during the breakthrough value process. Why targeting your audience is not limiting. It actually expands your target audience and who you impact. So in summary, your mission is your purpose for being in business. Your brand is the commitment that you make to that customer. But the value proposition is not about you at all. It's about how they feel by fact when they use your product, your service, your experience. You might get 30 seconds to size somebody up today if you're with them face to face, and we're not likely face to face very often. But research tells us we don't even get that long to make a first impression. We get 3 seconds to make a first impression. So a value proposition is about that handshake moment. It's about that few seconds that you have to interact with someone, however you interact with them, to express to them a rationale for what might build credibility and rapport in a moment, in 3 seconds. So to put this point into practice and to get into the mindset of beginning to think about a value proposition, I'd love to have, if you could, take a piece of paper or your phone or notes on your phone, and I'd like you to answer this question in 1 sentence or a couple of words. It's your first impression, very first impression. And the question is, what is that one big thing that your association offers members that they need most, that you do best, that they can't get anywhere else? One answer to this question. And I'm going to be quiet just for a moment to give you the chance to think through that. It should be your first impression, so it's not going to take very much time to answer. I'll just give you a few seconds now. That's about how long it should take to answer that question. And while many of you may not answer it the same way, everyone should be able to come up with that answer in that short amount of time. Oops, sorry. To understand and then to establish relevance, like thinking about being relevant, we first need to clarify a very common way that associations communicate today. Many communicate about features, and this is referred to as rational relevance. It's very tangible. It's the practical exchange of what you pay for your dues and what you get back. It's the education, it's the services, it's the classes, it's the whatever, advocacy support, whatever it might be. It's the access to maybe, a free tech webinar or a conference or a helpline. But if you want to persuade someone to think differently, act differently, or do something different, you have to get beyond the practical or the tangible relevance and begin to pay attention to emotional relevance. Okay? Because the uninvolved, the new member, the distracted member, they don't lay it up at night thinking, I hope I can get a variety of classes or a legal hotline or an annual conference once or twice a year. In that moment that you relate to a member in their language, about something they worry about or need for themselves to move ahead, or a fear that you take away that they've been living with for a while, then you connect about something that's really important to them. Ideally, maybe something they haven't really even thought about yet. And once you do, they get that punch in the gut that says to themselves, yes, how did you know that? You just gave me the inspiration I need to pay attention to you. So in summary, you have communicating about features, which is a common way that associations communicate, versus communicating about the core relevant benefits, and then following up with the features that support that emotional solution. They will choose you if you satisfy these three legs of this three-legged stool. So first of all, the message resonates. Does the member really want or need it? So the whole idea is you're trying to make sure that you uncover what they really worry about, what they really need the most, so you can relate very well to them. Differentiate is the center leg of the stool. That's your unique selling proposition. You don't differentiate for differentiation's sake, but for a sliver of real differentiation. Like different than any other educational institution, different than any other networking group or mastermind group. See what I mean? It's something that no one else can claim. Or if somebody does something similar to you, you do it way better, and you can say why. And then the third leg of the stool, you need to have some proof points to prove what you claim. All right? You want to turn up the heat on the problem so that you can really focus on your solution. Definition of a value proposition: your member's rationale for choosing you or someone else, or as you know, there are non-members that don't belong for one reason or the other. So your member's rationale for choosing you or somebody else, or maybe I don't need to be a member anymore. It's a sales pitch for all of those scenarios. This is like a graphical depiction of all the shiny tools and whistles and bells and some of the features you might think are your biggest strengths. Sometimes, though, that collection, that little puzzle there, translates into your storefront. This is your storefront. It happens to be a collection of websites from the state of Ohio. Yours might look something like one of these. That's a member's first impression. It's your chance to create a moment for, just for now, let's call your new member Jane, who's joining your association or considering it and getting into the business, whose boss or thinks for herself, I think that I should be a member here. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think it's probably the right thing to do. And it's pretty daunting when they don't know what to expect. You know that what you offer can accelerate Jane's career and help her get on solid footing. But at one sitting during, a new member orientation or when they get their new member packet, it can frankly be overwhelming. So you see these brands right here. Pick one of them. What's the first impression? Would you agree that some are very clear about what they offer? Some are very abstract. So go ahead, look at your homepage. In fact, we're going to look at this homepage. This literally is the first thing that a member might see when they come to an association homepage. It really says nothing about the association, but frankly, overwhelming about things to do and things to see and things to participate in and classes to attend. So, I'm going to say instead of the overwhelming focus on things, what you are about to embark on is the one idea and a process to think about the underlying problem you solve, and then and only then about supporting it with the services that you offer. This project will take approximately 3 months from start to finish. This is a picture of the process. And while this is going to help you decide what to say, that's not the real benefit of this project. You're going to establish relevance. You're going to find out what they are thinking. And as you do that, you're going to deconstruct what you think of your association today. And then once you discover what your members worry about and need the most, you'll develop a rationale to appeal to them and influence them so that you can reconstruct your real strengths from the member from their point of view. Dictating what they should value will seem like a distant memory. Then you'll learn how to plan, to execute and deploy this campaign, along with a content strategy that will feed your communications, will feed your new member orientation, will feed your website, and the way you talk about your association going forward. Because as Gregory Burns reminds us, a person can have the greatest idea in the world, completely different, completely novel. But if that person can't convince enough other people, it just doesn't matter. I'm sure that you all know the answer. But this process will help you come together and unify around what you say and how to sell it in a really different way. And then beyond what you say, how you behave, the decisions you make, the strategy you create, the money you spend, so that you can deliver on that promise every single day. So you can use your new promise to strengthen your brand. You are soon to home in on your inner salesman and inner saleswoman skills with some words that will help you plan and execute any conversation or presentation about your organization. And you're about to sharpen your marketing skills, because this is a lot about marketing and brand building. What does someone say that's been through the process? One of our early value proposition projects at Insight Marketing was with a state association that has 23 local associations that they serve, as well as members of all of those 23 local associations. Stacy Hartman, the communications director, told me this after 6 years of silence. We hadn't even talked about this. But after 6 years of getting hooked on their new way of communicating with their new value proposition, she said this: developing a value proposition is a must for any organization that serves people, because a value proposition is external. It's from the member's perspective, unlike a mission statement that is internal for our employees. She went on to say, a value proposition answers the question, what do you do for me? It allows you to communicate with confidence and speed to strengthen your brand and your relationships. Developing our value proposition back in 2014 absolutely changed our trajectory for the better. We refer to it and use our value proposition every day. I often wondered over the past 6 years what the CEO and the advocacy team and the school that they own and what the communications department did with their value proposition. And then during COVID, Indiana Realtors invited me to spend a morning with their incoming leaders to help them sell the concept of the value proposition. Because not only did the state association need it, every local association needed their own unique and one-of-a-kind value proposition. So they brought every association president and every association executive and their president. They brought them together. They bought them the book. And they even invested in asking me to consult with several of their local associations to give them some one-on-one help beyond the book. They believed so much in the process and the idea of a value proposition. In fact, what I thought was a value proposition that went on the shelf, which is kind of the fear of working with someone through this process, it turns out it's something that they use every day in every leadership training when they orient the new board members and in every new member orientation. That's how they keep this process alive. So what? What does this mean to you? Or what do I mean by so what? So that's a question that members ask often when they see this overwhelming amount of information. It makes them think, so what? The fact is, you know your so what so well. Through this process, you're going to figure out how to help them understand it and then influence them and persuade them to do more of what you want them to do because they're going to understand your organization so much better. So I encourage you, like Eric Ries says, that at the end of the day, customers are breathing, thinking, buying individuals. Their behavior is measurable and changeable. So if you didn't think that you could change anybody's perception, I challenge you that when you unify yourself around a common, new, relevant message, you will change people's minds. Get ready to discover that handshake moment, because that one statement that you're going to create together that relays what you do best based on what they need most is the best moment that you have to connect. Oh yeah, we've recently gotten used to calling this your handshake moment, but now it's like a fist bump moment. And now, imagine you're shaking hands for the first time with a prospective member, or, maybe that new member. Her name was Jane. She's new to the industry and to your association. That handshake moment could be the moment, the one thing that you say that sticks in Jane's mind, that relates to her in a way with a few simple words that makes it so very clear why she is better off with you than without you as she steps into her new career. It's specific about your association. It's relevant and something that matters to her. It's not about you selling your strengths. And it's words that are clear about how you're different than any other organization could explain what they do, so that Jane knows what to look for. I'd like to suggest that maybe your biggest strength is not about advocacy or about networking or classes, but about what Jane can do to live a better life or save a little time or let her sleep better at night. That handshake moment is all of this wrapped into a single, clear, simple message. So it's this short, quick overview of this process that I hope will orient you a little bit more to this process. I hope it made you wonder or think about a question or two or made you curious. And if it did, then I did my job for today. A best next step is to go to Amazon and get yourself the book. Or if you want your entire board or a small group to read the book, please contact us so we can send them to you in bulk. I guess I'm going to leave with thank you for the chance to relay a little bit of a rationale for you that's a proven winner for associations as they and you work to set yourself apart and set good expectations for why you matter to your members. So now it's time to talk together and determine if this project is right for you or to take the next step. Either way, you are on the cusp of something significant. So I wish you the best as you consider how you will go from virus to value for your members, for today and tomorrow and for the long haul. Thank you very much for your time today.